Well, hi, guys. Today we're going to talk to Sheriff Mack, and we actually have some really interesting points that I didn't even know about Sheriff Mack. Today, we're going to get into a little bit about the sovereignty of how sheriffs are versus the mayors and the governors, which is directly in the path of this conversation. And then we're going to move over into the Charlie Kirk issue, right directly in the path. And he's got something I didn't know that he had to actually say about that. So how you doing today? I know it's a heavy week for all of us.
Well, it's been hard to smile. It's been hard to laugh. It's been hard with all the emotions and up and down, mad 1 minute, thoroughly angry the next, and then tears of sadness the next. And I just saw Donald Trump Jr. on Fox News. I just went in to get a drink from the other show I just finished, and he had alligator tears running down his cheeks while he was talking about his friend Charlie Kirk. And
well, it's a very normal. And by the way, for people who, my wife's a psych nurse, and listen, I have a counseling, the essentials of a counseling degree.
yeah,
The stages of grief, you move through the denial, the bargaining phases. Those phases aren't, if you read through those 5 stages of grief, they are not a linear phase. You will move through those phases and go back and forth,
sure.
like you're knitting through those phases. You move through and you think you got through it, and you'll pop right back. Something
Right.
will hit you and move you back and forth with that. And so it's okay to be angry. One of the things that you have to do is not stay in those kinds of areas.
Right.
Let yourself, live in those kind of areas, but move back and forth to help yourself, feel those emotions. But when you wallow in those, that's when it becomes a problem. So that's when you need to kind of seek help, and your friends and family can help you there. But what you do with that is the problem, and that's what people tend to, are messing around in their emotions. That's what becomes a problem as well.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, I know exactly what you're talking about. And as a peace officer, as a patrol officer, and as a school resource officer, and everything else I did in law enforcement, uh, when somebody died, or I was at a scene where somebody had died, uh, it, it I never took it lightly. It always really bothered me.
right.
Uh, Somebody being shot senselessly was one of the worst ones, and especially if it happened to a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one incident that I had, just real briefly, I wrote a book called, I wrote a novel, and I know that you've written lots of books, and I just happen to have this over here on my desk, and it's called The Naked Spy, and it's not crude at all. There's nothing nasty in it or
No.
sexy or anything. But people say The Naked Spy. Well, what is that? Well, the next title, the subtitle, his mission began the day he died.
Right.
His mission began the day he died. That's usually just the opposite. That's when your mission ends. His began when he died, because it was an out-of-body experience, and he became an out-of-body spy. But there was an incident that I used in this book, and it's a fictional book, but I have lots of nonfiction in it.
Sure.
And these are things that actually happened to me when I was a cop. One of them, the title of the chapter is Rachel. And Rachel was about 18 months old, and she drowned in an irrigation ditch, and she got stuck in the pipe and the cemented area right in the middle. And her mom and dad were literally watching her drown. There was nothing they could do. And the fire department got there and didn't know how to get her out. And finally they got her out, but they tied a 4x4 board. It was about 3 or 4 feet long. So it was 4x4 long. And they drilled a hole in it, put a rope in it, put the rope in the water, and had the water take the rope around Rachel's body and out the other end. And then the board came up resting against her, and they just forced her out. Whether they broke her neck or back or whatever, they had to get her out, but she was completely flatlined. And I saw her flatline when they were working on her in the yard, and her mom was knelt over her, and it was very emotional, really an impact on my life. And by some crazy miracle, this little girl came back to life. She was dead for about 20 minutes. And I went to visit her every day in the hospital for about 10 days. And then I go there and they weren't there anymore. And I go,
wow,
where's Rachel? Yeah, that's what I said. They go, she went home. I go, went home? I go, did she come out of her coma? Yeah, she came out of her coma. She's home. And so I went home. I went to her home, and her mom was Miriam. And I said, Miriam, can I come in? What's up? And she goes, Rachel's doing a lot better. And she did have some brain damage, but none to her thinking ability. She had a leg that she couldn't use very well, and she had an eye that would go half closed. And I reconnected with her when she was 16, and I reconnected with her again when she was about 40. Yeah, but 38 to be exact. And she was the same age as my oldest daughter. And when I spent the entire day with Rachel, I'll just show you how emotional it was for me. I was doing my job. I helped the family as much as I could. I helped the father. He asked me to. He asked me if I was a Christian, and he asked me if I would pray over his daughter with him. And I said, yeah, sure. I would never deny anyone that asked me that. And so I was being strong the whole time, and I was being the help and support for the family. And then after about 14 hours of that, I got home really late at night, about 1 o'clock in the morning. And like I said, my daughter was the same age. She was about 19 months old, and she was tucked safely in her crib. And I went in and picked my little Lucy up, held her to my chest, and I bawled like a baby.
Sure.
And I wondered why my daughter was fine and their daughter was clinging to life. And so I put that story in this book because, one, this deals with an out-of-body experience. And that was the first time I saw somebody come back to life. Because Rachel was dead. And so she and I spoke at a local high school together, and she didn't know what I knew. I knew more about the incident than she did, but she knew more about her life since then, and how she got around and how she made life the best thing she could make it. And so I still keep in touch with her. And if I ever want to go give a presentation to somebody about the meaning of life, I take her with me. And it's again, it's in this book. This was a very powerful book. If you love spy thrillers, this is going to be one of your favorite books in the world. But especially if you would like it laced with nonfiction events, you'll love this, and you'll love the story about Rachel. It's worth getting just for that. It's available at my website, cspoa.org. Again, that's how it looks. The Naked Spy, it shows the silhouette of a man in the field of flowers. So, and most of my books, I've written 7 or 8 books, and most of them are about freedom and the Second Amendment and sheriffs and proper role of law enforcement and Are You a David and the magic of gun control. But this one, I had a desire to write that book for the longest time, and I finally did. And so if you love reading, get my books. If you love being educated about America, you'll love other books there as well. And the most important book is the smallest book and cheapest book I have. And this is a copy. This is a highlighted copy of my Supreme Court case. So
Right.
all the most important the important parts of the case are in this booklet. You can read it in 10 minutes, but you need to really study it and absorb it, and then pass these around to your local officials.
Right.
You can really help with their education. Big time.
Right. So as we kind of look at this too, so we have this problem with the sheriffs, who some of the sheriffs know this and some of them don't. Some of the police forces don't understand it, but we have these these governors such as Newsom and Bass and mayors who are, trying to exert their authority out there.
Yeah.
Why are the sheriffs have higher authorities than Newsom and Bass necessarily?
Well, in their counties, they do. They have the highest authority of anyone. They are the top executive of the county. In fact, even Thomas Jefferson said that way back when. The first law enforcement officer in the country of the United States was the sheriff, and all of these founding fathers were from England, and that's where it originated. The office of sheriff, way back in old Anglo-Saxon law, about before the Magna Carta of 1215, even. The sheriff existed. The sheriff of Nottingham, very famous story from Robin Hood.
Right.
And the sheriff has always been the conservator of the peace. He's always been the protector of the people. And now it wasn't always this way, but it's been this way for about 500 years, that the sheriff is elected, appointed by the people. And in America, that's key because it's the definition of our constitutional republic. And the people are in charge, and the people of America, we bestow and delegate all political power and authority. It comes from us. And it would stand to reason, if we delegate all power, we cannot delegate a power or authority to our elected representatives that we do not possess. So and that's a key component of all of this. That's something that people need to learn. The American people need to learn that. And we need to understand what Thomas Jefferson warned us about, that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
Right.
He was talking to us. The American people must be vigilant, must be involved. And in fact, the founder said America won't work if the American people aren't involved in the process.
Right. And I think we're starting to see that, especially in the situation when we see this next point here. Can you explain, this refusal of these governors and the mayors, for instance, Wu over in Boston, who say, we're going to push back at Trump specifically.
Because we want these terrorists here. We want these cartels here. We want the human traffickers to stay here.
Because they say that, for instance, the Wisconsin governor said, if you take out the immigrants, then we would have no economy. And I'm like,
oh, for heaven's sakes.
You got to be kidding me. That is the dumbest statement you could possibly make. That means, all of your jobs are on the lowest paying level. Right. Come on.
Well, let's look back. Let's look back at your other question just before this. I didn't stay focused.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Well, no, it still relates to what you're talking about. So let's take the example of Newsom and Mayor Bass and Trump telling them, you fix the problem or I'm going to. Where the hell is the sheriff? Los Angeles City is in Los Angeles County, and they have a huge county sheriff's office, just like they have a huge Los Angeles Police Department. And why doesn't the sheriff tell Mayor Bass and the governor and go tell the chief of police, if you're not going to do your job, I am.
Right.
And he can. And he has the resources and personnel to do it. And if he has to call out a posse, and if he has to deputize other reserves, he certainly can. But if he works with the chief of police, and if the chief of police maybe gets involved despite the ineptness and pride of the mayor, and does what he's supposed to instead of does what he's told, instead of being a Nuremberg officer, he does what he's supposed to defend the people of his state and of his city. This should not be falling on Trump.
Right.
Although he can do it to an extent. But this is the thing. Liberty is first. And what is all government supposed to do? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men.
Right.
That's in the middle of the Declaration of Independence, second paragraph, right after it talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If the governor and the mayor are not going to protect those three principles, then others can step in and should. And we're not saying who's in charge here. We're saying who's not doing their job and who has an opportunity or the obligation and duty to step in and fill the gap. Well, the sheriff is elected by all the people in Los Angeles City as well as Los Angeles County, and he has a duty to do this. And I want to know, where are the sheriffs in Chicago, San Francisco, Detroit, New York? Actually, in New York City, there's not really a sheriff that covers that area.
Really?
But there are all
Can you
over the
explain
place.
that for a second? I mean,
I know.
what happens in
New York City is not inside New York County. It's just its own area, and there's not an elected sheriff in New York City.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's kind of different, but so they have a police commissioner and they have a police commission and they have the chief of police, and that's it. But you won't see any New York Sheriff County vehicles there. But there's other sheriffs right all around New York City.
Okay.
And I would think that they would volunteer to the New York City Police Department and say, hey, we're here to help, because they can and they should. But New York's actually been doing better lately since Adams started waking up and had a little relationship with President Trump. And yes, I hope that he will quit. And I hope that Republican that used to be one of the protector guys.
Yeah.
The guy in the red hat, good guy running as a Republican, but he needs to help save New York and quit the race. And can you ever believe, Dr. Young, did you ever believe that we would be saying, get Cuomo elected, save New York?
Well, and my big thing too is, my big thing is, and I have a deeper kind of response to a lot of these idiots, is that I truly believe that the National Guard is going to be in place in all these cities as a response to the ICE, and we're going to see them in all the primary cities that are kind of going crazy, like Chicago, New York, Philadelphia. Pick the ones that you have out there that are, even Denver, that are going kind of nutty with that. And, you're going to see them in place so that we can, in the near future, that we can see that circumstance where Trump has to do what I like to call emergency broadcast signals, so that we can kind of, set in place and set the systems so that we can reset the circumstance. And so that's something that I talk about quite a bit, because right now we're at the constitutional crisis, because the systems are heartily broken with that kind of thing too. But
the systems are broken because they're run by corrupt public officials.
Correct. And no one wants to deal with this. But so when we talk about this, the refusal of dealing with this ICE issue, brings us to this constitutional crisis with that too, which I think is a point of treason. Is it not?
It is, absolutely. And there's no question that many of the Democrats in power, including Biden and his administration, Kamala Harris, committed treason. And it was for political purposes. The only reason, the only benefit, the only mens rea for the Biden administration to bring in illegal aliens and to open the doors, if you're bringing in the illegal aliens from Latin America, there's no way that you can keep out terrorists and cartels. There's no way. You're inviting all of them. The most ardent, despicable enemies of America entered at the same time. And this is why it's treason, because they allowed this horrible criminal element to enter our country, and now sleeper cells of international terrorists from the Middle East and the cartels have now joined forces. And so the cartels and the terrorists have set up sleeper cells all across our country. And the intel and the training that I have seen is all about how they're going to surreptitiously attack our grid and water supply. And if you go around and look where our water supplies are and look at the huge electrical plants across our country, go check them out. and ask your county sheriff where one is, the closest one. Go check it out. See if they're protected. See what kind of security they have. You will see virtually nothing.
Right. Yeah, they're very dangerous with that circumstance too. So, as we transition with that too, I want to transition into the conversation about Charlie Kirk, because I think we earlier this week we were talking, we were dealing with the ugliness of the Charlotte attack in the transit grid.
I know.
Which was so ugly, with this young woman who's just is on the transit system, and she's slashed, and no one wants to pay attention to it. And we have the idiot Van Jones on CNN who blames Charlie Kirk, and not one day later, we have Charlie Kirk who's shot. And I want to play this one video for you. I cut this up quite a bit. I played it with Patriot Underground, and so I'd like you to listen to this a little bit, and then we'll kind of get your reaction with that too.
All right.
Tipping point moment for this country, and I don't say that lightly. I think what happened today in the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a tipping point moment. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. But I have a lot of unanswered questions about today. And I just want to kind of go through them. Watching the video so many times, getting analysis from friends and law enforcement and sources that were there at the event. How did this happen? How did a shooter who was on the roof and seen by many students, pointed out by many students, allowed to lay prone at 200 yards in a perfectly prone position in order to fire on Charlie?
Get right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying.
Huh.
He just ran from over, where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying.
To fire a perfectly timed shot right as he's speaking about violence in the United States, right? We don't want to talk about that because that's intolerant. Why was he wearing body armor? Why was Charlie Kirk wearing body armor? And of course, the way that the bullet hits him, you can see it clearly bouncing right off. It was a kill shot aimed right for his heart, to hit his aorta, to hit that entire, as a friend in law enforcement,
Spinner mass.
Former FBI told me today, he said it was like a mess of pipes right there. That you don't shoot someone in the head. That's for the movies. Mm-hmm. You shoot for the heart because any professional would do it that way. So Charlie was wearing body armor. It deflects the bullet up, hits him right in the neck, and kills him. But more importantly, why was there no ambulance or EMT on site? In Utah, as in other states, state regulations require gatherings over a certain percentage of people, over a certain number of people. Even cities have different regulations, require an EMT on site and an ambulance. Go to any local carnival in your neighborhood and you'll see an ambulance parked there, ready in case someone is injured. Why at this event with thousands of people? No ambulance, no medical, nothing. And so when he's shot, how does he get carried away? By 6 individuals grab him and throw him into the back of an SUV. Why do we not have this shooter? FBI Director Kash Patel just moments ago posting that those individuals that they rounded up initially and were shared all over social media. Even the university said that they had captured the shooter. Wasn't the shooter at all. Who were these individuals? Who were these people? Eyewitnesses immediately said, this guy didn't do it. He's like a homeless guy. He has no money. We know the guy. He lives in our neighborhood. Like, this guy didn't shoot him. Other individuals rounded up. Why did one person who was rounded up, as you can see here, have a pellet gun in his possession? And photos were shared of law enforcement, shared on social media. We got the guy. This is the shooter. This is not the shooter. And why did he have a BB gun, essentially a pellet gun, in his possession? As friend of the show, former FBI agent Kyle Seraphin pointed out, this is a simple pellet gun. But that was shared all over social media. We got the guy. No, he's still at large. He's still at large at this level. So all that to say, we don't know, who the shooter is. We do know that Charlie had told friends in recent weeks that he feared that Israel was going to kill him. Those are Charlie's words to friends, not mine, because his views on what has been transpiring in Gaza as the genocide has unfolded has evolved significantly from where he was months ago, apparently, according to friends that knew him well. So why was he wearing body armor? I mean, I guess just sort of any protection in an event like this would make sense, right? But he was telling friends that he actively thought he was going to be killed. Something to consider. We don't know more than that on that piece of it yet. I'm just struck by the strange arrests, the weird decoys at this event. Why a guy with a pellet gun? Why pretending like we caught this guy? Now we know that we don't have the shooter. Why all of that? But at the heart of it, for me, I believe we are at a tipping point moment for the United States. For far too long, conservative men, independent men have been too tolerant, and they've been sitting back and they've been allowing this violence to go on. They've been sitting back saying, oh, there's the radical leftists again, carrying out another mass shooting. There's another leftist, who's been arrested 14 times, slashing a white girl on a train. We're outraged about it. But this feels different. And speaking to a lot of my conservative friends in positions of authority, they're feeling the same. And I think we're going to see a revolution in this country. I really believe that, unless something changes. Men just sort of sitting back, allowing this to happen. I think we've had it, and I'm really worried about what comes next. But I will say this, it feels like you've made your own bed. It feels like these people have made their own bed. And they had better be ready to lie in it.
So, there's a lot to unpack, and I really don't want to get in everything, but anything you want to talk about with that? I mean, you kind of made some comments to me off air, so I'd love you to kind of, go where you want to go.
Well, first, I'll address the first responders. There was no security checkpoints. Okay. Our executive director's nephew was at the event. Very conservative kid. I believe he used to go to the college, or still does. He has been an EMT. He is a certified EMT, but he didn't go as an EMT. He went as a fan of Charlie Kirk's. He really likes Charlie Kirk, and he took a friend with him, and they went. They were surprised that they were able to walk right in to the place close to the tent that Charlie had set up, and they're only 20 feet from the tent.
Right.
They're really close, and they actually had seats.
No, that it's pretty common to be kind of close to Charlie too, though.
Yes.
Right?
He loves that. That's part of his MO. Yes. And so, no security checkpoints. Both of them were wearing rather large backpacks. No police. In fact, there was a total of 6 police officers there to watch a crowd of 3,000 or 4,000 people.
Yeah, no, that's a bothersome point.
Unheard of. And why would you not have security checkpoints? You could set up a table wherever there's egress, ingress allowed, and maybe 5 or 6 of them? Okay, so if Disneyland can do it, they can sure do it. But no police officers from Orem Police Department, no deputies from Utah County Sheriff's Office.
This. I looked up the law in Utah. They said Utah the organizers said they only had 1,200. If you're saying they had 3,000 to 4,000, 3,000 to 4,000, the law says they actually do have to have an ambulance there. So at 4,000, they had to have an ambulance.
Well, this
there.
EMT said he was surprised there wasn't one. And
So they
because
had
he
to
saw the
have an
size of the
ambulance
crowd.
there. So
Yeah. So regardless, and I admit very, very much up front, it's easy to play armchair quarterback with this, but
Sure.
there's no way you bring in somebody that big with that many students, with what's going on in our country, and you don't provide adequate security.
Right.
Okay. And that the security that was there, I want to ask them. I want to ask Charlie Kirk security team. Did you coordinate with the police that were there? And did you ask them? You've got to be having some sort of security meeting sometime. How much of a perimeter did you ask them to check? And if there's students standing there waiting for the show to begin, and they see somebody on the roof and you don't, and you didn't learn anything from Butler, Pennsylvania, just a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
All of that to me is just mind blowing.
Okay, so let me ask you this one, because this one's a powerful point. Okay, I mean, listen, I spent all my life growing up. I mean, I made a comment to on Patriot Underground. You know, I'm a right-handed guy. Okay, but because I have dyslexia, I learned to be opposite eye dominant. I did a lot of things left-handed, so it's kind of funny, right? And when I was growing up, I would close my right eye. I didn't understand this, right? So when I would shoot my rifle, I would do this, and I didn't understand. I was a kid, right? And I didn't understand why I wasn't shooting very well, holding it in my right hand, closing my right eye, right? And my dad looked at me kind of funny. He was like, "Why don't you flip it over to the left side?" Right? Because my dad's left-handed. So I kind of used the left hand, and I'm like, "Whoa, that looks a lot better through the scope," right? And so realized that's a better way of doing that. And so I shot so much better. So I learned to shoot, all kinds of different rifles and all kinds of different guns. And I never could shoot anywhere near, my gosh, 150 feet at best. I mean,
Right.
and I mean, we had 5 acres. We used to go into what we would call the hole in Colorado. And I mean, my dad would, I want to tell you the brief story. My dad, we would drive in where people would camp. We would camp in beyond where people would hunt. We would hunt in, and we would wear the orange vest, but we would hunt in where no one would go to. And when we would shoot, there's no one around us. So, I mean, I kid you not, there was no one. So when we were hunting deer, there is zero gunshot other than ours, right? So if there's a blood spurt when we were hunting, there's no one else around. So we understood that kind of stuff. And so listen, I'm not a deer hunter in an amazing way, but
I've never been deer hunting in my life. I've never been a hunter.
Right. So listen, this is, I mean, and I'm not the greatest deer hunter, but I understood all of those kinds of issues, right? But I understood angles pretty darn well. Now, if you have someone who's up on the top of a roof and you're angling down, how does, a bullet go up, hit here and angle up? I don't understand the angle. I'm struggling with that angle.
Where he was, it would have been going down, not up. It would have been going down a little bit.
Exactly. So, I mean, if I'm thinking about the angle, wouldn't it be going upward? If it would hit onto his chest and going up into that, because
I've never heard that. That's the first time I've ever heard that. That's one of the main things I wanted to unpack, because nobody's reported that. The report that I got from eyewitness, from the kid that was there, he said it went right for his neck. Now, this is why I believed it was not a professional assassin. And a lot of people thought it was. This is a professional hit. It's a paid hit. This guy knew exactly what he was doing. I said, no, you do not aim for the throat or neck at all. A professional assassin would never be doing that.
I know.
And to me, now maybe there's some other information out there, but I have not seen this anywhere that it ricocheted here and went up there. I don't believe that's ballistically. I don't even believe that's possible.
Now, here's another point too that comes out. There was a lot of conversations that there were, guys making motions around him. Okay, there was a security guard in black, and so I'm gonna make some comments about him. I have watched Charlie Kirk's shows more times than I can count, and I probably have watched 3 of those every single morning, and those guys are making motions all the time, just moving their hats. They could be making motions for everything, and if you've watched them, they could be making motions for everything.
Wait, I need to interrupt you there for a minute.
Sure.
I'm surprised that somebody's saying he was wearing a vest, because that T-shirt he had on did not look like he had a vest.
I know. And so listen, listen, if the redacted host, I don't remember his name, is saying that's news to me, but listen, that may be the case. Now, the gentleman off to the right of Charlie, or to the left, stage left. Okay, I'm an actor in the past. Okay, so stage left with that. People were making all kinds of comments. He's got a white hat and a white shirt, and he had his cell phone up like this. Okay, and they were making all kinds of comments that he was a spotter. What we found out later is that was Dr. Frank Turek, and they were making that Frank Turek is a massive public speaker who I've seen a billion times, spoken with Charlie Kirk, on stage with Charlie Kirk. And he is a huge speaker at colleges. He is a apologetic speaker. This guy is a super strong believer. Like, that is not the case. That is a absolute false claim. You can go look him up at crossexamine.com and absolutely know that is not a spotter for a shooter. Right. So that is incorrect. And he was inside of the fence line. So, whatever that case is. So, so is it so your circumstance, you're saying it's not necessarily a rifle shooter.
Well, it was, I mean, he used an older rifle. He used a scope. Okay. I don't believe he's an expert shot at all, because any assassin or police are taught the same. What you were alluding to earlier, center of mass. You go for center of mass. Police are not trained to shoot any place else except center of mass.
Right.
Unless now you're fighting someone who has body armor on, and then you've got to go for a headshot.
You got to do a headshot, right?
But that didn't really come into play here. What I took from the very beginning is that this guy missed where he was shooting. He was going for center of mass, but he hit the throat, and he could have been going for the head, because maybe he's not very well trained. He goes, well, I'm going to try a headshot, and then he, instead of hitting the head, he hits here, which is the jugular vein. He hit accidentally. This was an accidental shot to the throat, and it got a very deadly place, and that was the carotid.
Correct.
And so there's no way that a paid assassin who really knows how to kill somebody, a paid assassin has one assignment: kill the target.
Right. Okay.
He only fired once. So if a paid assassin saw that it hit the throat, he would need to shoot another one, believing that that's not a dead shot.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because a paid assassin absolutely would have been shooting at least more than one.
A double tap or triple tap would have been in order. But
That-
but the paid assassin would have been going for that big white shirt. And I will be shocked if somebody comes back and says, yes, it's verified. And I feel like calling some of my contacts there and asking them to find out for me if he had a vest on, because vests, if you've ever worn a ballistic vest, especially if it has the metal plate in it, but
would
just
have
a
been real
regular
cool.
vest without it, you're going to see it through that t-shirt. You don't want to wear a t-shirt. You want to wear a full polo shirt or a button-up shirt that gives lots of room where you can't really tell you have a vest on. But that t-shirt was tight on him, and I'm 98% certain he did not have a vest on, a ballistic vest.
That is really good. Okay. That's great.
I'm going to go look. I'm going to go back and look after this. I'm going to look back at the video and show him where he's throwing those hats. No, I would have. That would have been the first thing I noticed. Oh, he's got a vest on. Good for him.
Not a vest. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. What else do you notice in there too?
Well, again, the reaction to the police and the putting it out that the suspect was in custody, that made every police officer in the state of Utah stand down. All the citizens, every American, everybody near there, oh, thank goodness he's caught. And now nobody's watching for the suspect.
Right.
And
that bothers me a lot when that happens.
A paid assassin would have loved to have had that so he could escape. In fact, a paid assassin would have left a different gun there and lead the police to a different area while he gets halfway down to Mexico City. So yeah, no. So I thought at first it was a paid hit because it was such an important one. But when I found out that he got shot in the throat, a paid assassin would not do that. But I'm not going to believe that anymore. If they had not put that out and they said, well, there could be a suspect still at large, or there probably is still somebody at large, or, because there were people there, protesters, who immediately were cheering and raising their arms. Don't the police need to go at that person and maybe they're making a sign to the shooter? Yeah, you got him. Yay, or whatever. Or the guy that they tackled and took down. What was it that brought attention to him in the first place where you actually put out that we got the suspect? Now, whoever put that out, I hope learns a very drastic lesson there, that even if you think you have them, you don't say, okay, everybody, relax, stand down, we got it.
Right.
And another thing that made people relax and not provide the adequate security, oh, it's Utah. No, nothing ever happens here. Oh, we're good. Utah is no different than any other place.
Correct.
It's not. Maybe to 1 percentage point here and there, but they still have huge drug problems. In fact, prescription drugs is one of the worst in Utah. Utah is one of the worst states in the union, and they still have all the other problems communities have. And the LDS Church notwithstanding, it has crime, it has prisons, it has jails, it has cops and sheriffs and law enforcement. They have school resource officers, and folks, it takes proper security. And again, if they didn't have any meetings with Charlie Kirk's people, I would be shocked. And they should have had a checkpoint. They should have had a checklist and go point by point. What are we supposed to? What are we here for? Why do we have security? Let's make sure that we have these perimeters set and that we have one cop on top of one building somewhere, not a one.
So is it possible? And I mean, we're speculating here too. Is it possible that we have that there's a complicity with the university, that we just have lack with the university kind of thing?
Yeah, they've just self-brainwashed into believing nothing ever happens here.
Okay.
It was poor management. It was poor security. Okay, we'll have 6 university police officers.
Right.
Okay? they're certified peace officers of the
Sure.
state of Utah. But how experienced are they providing celebrity protection?
Right. Very
Okay?
little in that
Very
way.
little. And I would think that Charlie Kirk's team of security people would have made sure that they were covering all the points on the checklist. So I don't know. I would like to know all about that. Who prepped everybody, and why was there only 6? And they should have anticipated a huge crowd. And look, you don't know the size of the crowd until it gets there. But what Charlie Kirk gets nationwide, they should have had the team there. They should have had 25 officers, 2 or 3 up on drones flying in the air. Maybe, okay, get the local helicopter flying. If you had a helicopter buzzing, that kid on the roof would have never stayed there, would have never been able to fire that shot.
Right.
It would have scared him, one thing, but it just doesn't seem like people learned from Butler, and that people really took this assignment very seriously.
Wow. Okay. That was some interesting stuff with that too. And I will tell you that I think what we're seeing here, and there's I don't know if you ever look at this stuff, but I do see this. We're seeing a time reference. Enough is enough. I think we're starting to feel this. In
I haven't
America.
seen this yet. Is this Time magazine just out today?
Time Medicine magazine just coming out with this kind of thing.
I'm glad they did.
This kind of stuff is I believe where we're kind of stepping on. I saw something on CNN. They're kind of feeling scared right now, and the CNN people need to feel scared, not because we're coming after them as in violence. We're not coming after them in violence. That would be a mischaracterization in that way.
Correct.
What we're saying to them is, no more are we going to take it. This is a reference, and you're probably not real understanding of this kind of thing. This is a reference from a very long time. Enough is enough. We need to stand together in unity in this kind of way. I would say right now, America is saying we're sick and tired of mainstream media. We're sick and tired of governmental officials. We're sick and tired of the way these treasonous people have been. We're sick and tired of the lefties who hate America. In essence, we're sick and tired of this, and we're saying you are only allowed to love your country. If you don't love your country, you can get out.
Right, leave. Yeah,
it's fine. You know what? There's the door. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, that this happens to people in their houses, and you see people who are in a house, and you see the kid who lives in the house, and they're screaming at their parent, and you go, you know what? And finally, the one of the parents say, you know what? If you hate your parents that much and you hate the home you live in, get out.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And you walk and you go, get out then. You don't want to live here. You're so hateful over this issue. Get out, right? And in essence, that's what we're saying here. You don't want to live here that bad. You want to be that angry. Get out. Yeah. And so that's what I would say here too. I mean, this is that kind of moment where we're saying no more.
Yeah. Amen. I totally agree with that. And I really think you called it correctly. We're sick and tired of the media. We're sick and tired of the corrupt politicians, and we're sick and tired of the destruction of our Constitution by our own public officials.
Right. And you said this, and as we kind of close, you said this kind of comment, saving our country is on the people's back, and it's the right of the people and the duty of the people. Can you talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, it's a quote from Thomas Jefferson. If you expect to be ignorant and free, you expect what never was and what never will be. So first, we have to be educated. We have to know American history. We have to know how we got here. Second was another warning from Thomas Jefferson. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We, the American people, have not been vigilant. We're apathetic. We're ignorant. We're too preoccupied with everything else. We spend too much time on screen. We're into the, you know what I'm not into? Social media. I'm not, and I'm glad I'm not. And my son-in-law and my daughter, the one that graduated from UVU, they don't even allow social media for their children. God bless them for that too. Most of this, can there be good things with social media? Yeah. Most of it, though, generates evil things.
Right.
And it puts kids at a risk. And it makes kids very vulnerable.
Right.
And parents would have to be extremely careful and assiduous in monitoring the time that their kids spend on their phones, and also who they're talking to and what messages they're getting. Talk about allowing your kids to be brainwashed from questionable sources that you don't even know about. So it's just a dangerous situation. And I really blame a lot of social media on all of this. But anyone that has learned to hate the way that these responses have come from these leftist psychotic extremists, that they could be so hateful as to be cheering for this and actually applauding what happened is so debased and so pathetic and so demonic that I can't even fathom that a person like that exists. Who are you? Who here's you could do that.
But here's the point, though. You know, the point that I have found with them is that, for instance, like, you know, some of these really crazy lefties I've never listened to. I mean, and I'm on purpose. I don't listen to them, and so I don't know what they're.
How do you avoid it? I mean, how do you avoid it, especially on this incident? This incident has, it's been all over Fox. It's been all over the.
Yeah, but I don't.
Off my computer.
I personally don't listen to much. I purposely.
I do. I look up at the news. I want to know what they're saying. I can't stomach CNN or MSNBC very long, but I'll even turn it to there. I want to see what they're saying. I watch the shorts on YouTube. I want to see some of the things that are going on. But
I see as a person, though,
I totally love watching stuff like this.
Let's see. I mean, as a person, as a content provider, one of the funniest things about me is I don't watch TV. As a content provider, I have to show some stuff. I would listen. I watched Charlie Kirk. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too.
But there are what I watch is very short level issues, but I protect my eyes quite a bit, and so I don't watch a lot of other things that other people would watch, and so I have to get away from a lot of other issues because I need to spend time. For instance, I'm building like 3 other videos, and so I have to build all kinds.
Well, even when this came out, I was on another interview out of Georgia, War Room GA, and he interrupted our interview to bring us this news, and then we stayed on another hour and a half, and I got my other laptop out, and I was literally watching the live news on Fox and other places. I wanted to hear, I wanted to know, and so
I understand, and yet, but what I'm saying here is that what I think what happens is that these lefties have literally not 1 minute spent watching Charlie Kirk. They haven't taken a moment to watch Charlie Kirk. They have no idea what he's actually ever said. They have never, for instance, people who hate me have never even watched me. There's a guy that and I can literally tell you of hundreds of people who hate my guts have never even watched more than about a couple minutes of me.
Oh, speaking of having to go to another interview, I've got another one right now.
Yeah. So guys, this is the kind of stuff that we try to help you with. Watch and like and subscribe. We thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate you so much.
Find more on cspoa.org. Thanks so much.